Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Adventures in Arcane Space. Once again, I am your Dungeon Master, AuldDragon, and the players are...
Hi, I'm Davey Big Mac Shepherd. I play Braxon Miacc, who's a human fighter from an asteroid close to Brow, and now the captain.
I'm Kamisama, and I play Solas Ebha, who is Half-Elven Cleric Mage of Ogma.
Hey, I'm James. I play Ockar, human paladin from Brawl.
Hello, everyone. I'm Salem Mortar. I play Finnel'ar Mohani, a druid from Grayspace.
Hi, I'm Levalithana, an elven wild mage from she doesn't know where from.
Hey there, I am Zakad. I play the character of Lafdul Moonglade, a specialty priest thief multi-class from Realm Space. His little gimmick is coming up with fun titles. Not the best title, but his current title is a defiant, spontaneous, soggy imposter. Because he felt like his gut instinct to not sleep at Mailing's camp is gnawing at him, despite the hardship he might endure. It's just something was off about that place.
Totally
You're
don't trust
paranoid.
people. It's, so paranoid. It's so weird.
Yeah, well, we've had people betray us, and Lafdul's getting fed up of being betrayed, so...
It's quite simple. When people betray you, you just go back and hit them on the head with a hammer.
So
They
you're
don't do it
saying we
again.
should go? So you're saying we should go find Jewel and hit her on the head with a hammer?
No,
I'd
Solas
rather-
will complain. Solas would object.
She didn't
Solas
betray
had
us.
nothing
She
to...
did betray us.
She did,
Jewel-
she stole stuff off.
Jewel-
That's betraying.
Jewel
Has not
saved
done anything to me.
Lever's life, and then she took a few things in payment.
That's not payment. That's robbing us.
That's straight out robbing her. She took like over 100 grand's worth of items.
Well, she left a board
Next
game.
time we see her, I'm stabbing her.
I mean, she could have actually taught us the rules for playing the board game, but she left the board game.
Yeah.
We should find out.
Next adventure after we're doing this, we're shoving the board game into the tracker and tracking her down.
Yeah, I somehow doubt that would even work, to be honest.
I
Not
mean,
that we've ever tried, but...
she was
You
bored
mean,
of the game at that point.
You mean the company has a board game and no one told Solas about it?
Because we don't technically own it, none of us has claimed it.
We're trying to keep it that way so we can use it as a potential tracking in the future.
Why do you want to hunt down the dragon that saved one of our
She-
lives?
Because
No.
she stole from us, and we may as well hunt her down and take back some of her loot. And recompense.
She not only that, she also... didn't she? No, she didn't. Let's think of something else. She also took the manual strength as well. Pigments may have had 21 strength.
That's true.
That would have been funny.
Well, if only she stole those silly playing cards, we'd have been better off.
We didn't have the cards at the time.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
I'd
If
be
we ever
curious to
find-
know if she realised what they were.
If we ever find a manual of strength for the party, Solas claims it.
Oh, oh,
thing
you're
is-
claiming it before we found it.
The thing is that we... no, I would claim it because I'm one of the frontline fighters and I need it.
I think maybe we need to go talk to some giants.
I think there's multiple people who'd be interested in that, and yes, there is actual game
sure.
to do.
No. We're going to talk for like 2 hours. I mean, even though I mentioned it in the meetup that, this is to cut down on dithering in game. But,
Is this your technique for Ald not killing us in the game? Is to just burn up all the game time?
maybe.
that would work. That would work a little.
Death by boredom.
All right, so last session, after leaving Mei Ling's camp with Lafdul, a little bit worse for wear, having enjoyed a wonderful, wonderful night sleeping in the bed of the flitter with a tarp over his head, while
Tarp?
it just...
I didn't even realise I had a tarp. That was generous. I thought I had ropes. That was it.
Yes, we talked about the tarp beforehand, so that the flitter
Yeah.
didn't fill up with water.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
water still got in, and it was quite humid, and warm, and there were bugs, and it was
Really, in the
raining
rain?
heavily, and there was thunder, and there was wind. But
Where do you
other
think all
than
the
that,
bugs-
it was
where do you
perfectly
think all the-
fine.
Where do you think all the bugs went to hide from the rain?
If there hadn't been a tarp, you would have basically been sleeping in a bathtub full of water.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I've
So
done that before. That's not comfortable.
I can only
There it is,
imagine,
or
and I'm glad that I have not done that.
It's also potentially deadly.
It's called passing out while taking a bath.
I think Ald has some D&D he wants to do.
Lies.
So you left Maeling's camp and flew to another part of Kislev, and you have descended down to the village of.
Wait.
Hmm?
Weren't we we wanted to try and leave it on a? We weren't certain of because we weren't like entirely certain of like which crewman we were going to take, so we wanted to.
We left the
leave
session. We left the session off with you going down again in the flitter to
Yeah.
the Giants
did land.
village.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
strongly dislike this.
I
Oh,
mean,
well.
this is not to say that we need to spend first night in after visiting the giant village on the planet. We can return back to
We
orbit.
don't have any of our stuff then.
I mean,
Okay,
like
believe-
again, you can land, scope out the place, and go back to your ship. Considering that the Octave Arcane and the Star Knights are multiple days away, to me would indicate that you're probably not going to get started on anything this current day in-game day.
Yeah.
But there's
still have time to
also
wait.
massive risk every time you keep on leaving the atmosphere.
A massive risk of what?
Dragon attack, spontaneously attacking a flying creature that's leaving orbit.
Yeah, but if we land on the
We're faster than
Yeah.
a dragon.
also if we
No.
land on the
Still
giant
be
village, there should not be dragons nearby.
We don't have to worry about being attacked by dragons now. We've got some giants walking towards us that we need to talk to.
So, either in a conversation with other people in the sphere or with Mailing or something like that, you would have realized that there's nothing to really worry about in terms of certain places. Mailing's camp is safe from dragon attack, and this giant village at least is safe from dragon attack. Because if a dragon were attack you in the air, that would mean it would be encroaching on the giant's territory.
And remember, the giants have big rocks that they throw.
Giants are basically opposing dragons in here. But yes, the giants were coming close to us.
Yes. So you put down in a spot that was pretty clearly delineated for a small landing craft, and some of the giants are approaching you. These giants are well over twice your height. They'd be twice Higgamis's height. So most of you come up to about knee high on them. And one of them lets out a rumble. And I should describe them a little bit more. They do have green skin. Their hair is greenish as well, kind of looking like well-groomed grass or fern fronds. That's just kind of like how their hair... It is actual hair. It's not grass or plant or anything like that, but that's just how it grows, and it reminds you of that. They're wearing well-made but simple clothing, clearly made from leather and animal hides. And one of them is approaching you and hails your vessel. And he says, "Welcome. We haven't had visitors in at least a month."
Good
He's-
day.
Who are
We
you, may I
are-
ask?
Solas quickly says silently, we should be honest with these giants.
We
Yeah.
are the company of the Broken Sword. We're here hunting pirates.
Ah, pirate hunters. Well, we charged 20 bronze pieces for docking. So he's close to your ship now, and he's looking over it. Do you need any assistance tying it down?
No, we can handle that. We came to ask for information, since we have strong reason to believe that there's a pirate base on this planet, and we were told that your village might know something about that.
Please offer us guiding services.
Yes.
Ah, yes, we do offer guides. We do offer guides. You'll want to speak with our king, Sully.
Ah, Sully, we've heard of him.
Yes, he is quite well known. He is the strongest of us and the wisest. He holds out his hand, like he's bending over real low, holding out his hand for you to pay him the docking fee.
Sure.
That was 20 bronze pieces.
What's a bronze piece again?
That is the equivalent of silver.
Okay. Do we have any bronze pieces?
We still have bronze pieces.
I guess we'll spend that then. Is keeping track of that?
There's a document that we're all supposed to be able to put things in.
Yeah, but it's also usually a good idea if one person is doing it rather than everyone.
I'm going to put it in now.
So you can see extending behind him, kind of sloping up from the edge of the water, multiple gigantic trees that have structures up on the boughs, sometimes across multiple trees. There are also bridges. You can see ladders hanging down to the ground. And there are some structures on the ground as well, but it does look like most of them live up in the trees. And these are massive, massive trees. Most of the trunks are 70 to 120 feet in diameter, and they dwarf these giants, let alone you.
Same kind of tree that Mailing lived.
Some of them are, yeah, and there's some other types as well. It's a mixture of various types of trees.
Braxon says we might be able to carve an entire ship out of one of these trees.
And it looks like they do. They have some dugout canoes and other types of small watercraft. At least small in relative to their size, on the shore. And you can see out in the lake there's some giants who are fishing. And after he takes the 20 bronze pieces and slips them into a pouch at his waist, he stands up and his voice booms down to you again. I'll guide you to the king if you'd like to speak with him right away.
Yes, please. If
Yes,
he's has time for an audience.
You may need to wait, but he will be more than happy to speak with you. He's always interested in speaking to newcomers.
Thank you very much, says Braxon and bows.
So he turns and guides you further into this village. These giants are fairly stocky. So despite their height, they actually don't move that fast. So it's not a problem keeping up with him. He doesn't need to move slowly for you too much. But he's also, making sure that you are, that other giants are aware that some small folk are following him. Yeah, go ahead.
Solas tries to make a small conversation with the giant about their basically culture.
Yeah, keep in mind that small conversation with a giant basically means that you're shouting up at him.
Yeah, but I mean small conversation in that it's not that serious and.
I understand. I'm just trying to make it clear that you're essentially shouting up to him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you asking anything in particular?
About their general customs and how it's polite to speak to the king and so forth.
When you ask about customs and how to be polite to the king, he kind of gives a laugh and says, "Ah, king is pretty down to earth. He's not one for formality. You don't have to, as long as you're polite, you don't have to worry too much about anything."
That's it. That is very good.
So you are guided further into the village, and now you're completely under the canopy of the forest, and he guides you to where there are 3 trees in a roughly triangular pattern, and you can see way up in their boughs there's a structure straddling all 3 of them. And it looks multi-leveled in as well. Hanging down from this is a pair of actually 4 thick ropes that connect to a platform down at the ground. And it's a platform much too small for these giants, but it would be large enough to put items on, and large enough for all of you to stand on as well. And he directs you to this, and he says, "This will take you up. I will climb the ladder." And you can see that you would not be able to climb these ladders, because these ladders are designed for, a creature that is over twice your height.
The spacing is too far apart for us.
Yeah. Lafdul, you could probably climb the bark of the tree, but even then, you really wouldn't want to when you have this convenient lift nearby.
Could Braxon jump from one rung to the next if he needed to?
I mean, with your boots, yes, you could jump, but it would still be like, they are rungs, and you'd have to. It would be dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to grab on, and if you miss, and if you fail to grab on or misjudge or something like that, you're plummeting down.
Basically, test for every jump.
Braxon will climb into the big picnic basket then, or wherever it is.
And I mean,
What's it look like?
I'll join them.
And the thing is it's actually a fairly open platform with kind of a rope railing. But like the rungs aren't so far apart that you can't touch them if you were standing on one. But it would be, you're on one, and you're, it's like pull-up bars. Each one would be a pull-up bar to you. And who wants to do that? It's not high school. So you all get onto the platform, and this giant, he had introduced himself to you, Solas, as Thuthi Fisher Clan. And so you all get on board this this platform, and he signals up to a giant up in the canopy. And there's a bit of a lurch. You have to grab onto the ropes, but then it smooths out, and you're smoothly lifted up into the trees as he's climbing up the ladder himself.
Last comments to the rest of the party that this lift is most likely for lifting goods and small folk visitors. So they have experience of visitors here.
So it takes a couple minutes to get up there. It's a smooth, not fast, not jerky trip up, and in fact, like it doesn't even sway, even though there's a good wind blowing through. It doesn't sway at all. And you get up to the upper platform, and Solas, give me an engineering proficiency check, please. Okay.
It would have been successful if there wasn't any modifiers for it.
You can't quite get a good view of the machinery involved, but you don't hear like it's a lot of creaking wood. You think it's mostly a wooden contraption, and you're not, but you're because you can't see enough of it. You can't really get a feel for who may have made it, what kind of design it is, that sort of thing.
Once we get up, Solas asks or shouts politely to the giant we talked earlier that if possible he would be interested in looking how the lift mechanism has been made.
Ah, yes. Well, I'd be happy to show it to you. We had some dwarves by a few years back who offered to build it in exchange for some guiding services.
Ah, yes, dwarves have quite the talent in making these kind of machines.
So we've learned. Come, I will see if the king will see you now.
And he leads you into the interior of this structure up in the boughs of the tree. It looks like on the outside you were on kind of a balcony region. There were railings at kind of a waist height for the giants, made of sturdy logs. Looked like smaller trees just cut down and had the bark removed. But they were also nice enough to put railings much lower down for your height as well. So they clearly have taken into account smaller folk like you visiting them. So he leads you into the structure through a large door, and there's another set of doors further in, and this is all made of wood. You're seeing no stone whatsoever. It's all wood. It's richly decorated with natural pigments and some, cloth paintings, cloth tapestries, that sort of thing, hanging on the walls. And he says, "Yeah."
I will study the tapestries and ask if they are if they tell any if there's any basically big stories within them.
Thuthi says, "Ah, yes, they do, but I need to speak with the king first. You'll have time to study them out here if you wish."
And he directs you to next to the door. There's kind of a winding staircase up to about chest high, a platform about chest high. And this platform has been laid out with a small table for them and some benches and chairs that you can sit in. And you can get a good view of the room from up here. And it's
Hang on.
Yep.
You mean it's a person-sized platform that takes us up so that they don't have to bend down to see us?
And it's also a waiting area, essentially.
Right.
But specifically built and designed for people of your size.
Okay, Braxon will head up.
And the giant guiding you, he says,
Wait here, and I will see if the king can see you.
He passes through the door and closes it. And looking around the chamber while you wait, Solas, indeed, you can see that the tapestry and the artwork on the walls. You're not sure if they tell stories, but they definitely have scenes. And many of the scenes involve giants fighting dragons.
Ooh, Lafdul would be interested in that if Lafdul had noticed.
I think you would. I mean, unless you're explicitly not
No.
looking around the room.
Well, Lafdul's busy not sneezing, so he's not talking much. So
Solas comments about those that the giants clearly have quite the enmity with the dragons.
Yes,
Yeah,
they seem
Lafdul's-
to have quite a history of dragon slaying.
Yeah, I think
No,
that happens on other.
So they might have some good advice for us on how to deal with these dragons.
Yes.
is there any kind of like giant script, like letters or like something that is a language essentially? Even though I
No,
can't
you're not
read
seeing
it.
any written language on
Any,
the.
like, no hieroglyphs or anything.
No.
Yeah.
And most of the giants are fighting with spears or
Reach
clubs.
weapons. Oh. Really?
Yeah, you see no weapons that you would typically consider from your perspective of dragon fighting weapons. No swords, no bows. They're clearly throwing spears and fighting with hand-to-hand spears and clubs.
Excuse me. Using a sword against a dragon, you're doing it wrong in my opinion. But
Hey! My sword is specifically designed to be
for
good against
lizards,
dragons.
not specifically dragon bastards.
Dragons are lizards, so it counts.
That just happens to be a happy coincidence.
Actually, dragons aren't lizards. Excuse me. No, it's good against reptiles and not lizards.
It's reptiles, and
Alright.
dragons are reptiles, so I do well against dragons.
As a dragon myself, I have to be pedantic about this. Just so you know.
Yes, you cold-blooded
But
reptile.
it doesn't work against Old because he's a Lego dragon.
Yeah, I'm plastic.
He's still a reptile. He's just made out of blocks.
So
You need a sword plus 5 versus plastic.
yeah, exactly.
I think this game's going to drag on a bit today.
It may. But then again, doesn't it always? You wait
Yes.
about 20 minutes, and out on the table there is a bowl with some nuts and dried fruit as well for you to snack on. The bowl is considerably larger than you would expect, but like you might guess that this was probably a small bowl repurposed for this.
Yeah.
And there's a variety of nuts and dried fruit in this bowl. Stuff that can kind of sit here for multiple days and not have a problem.
How big are the nuts and fruit? Are they sort of like people size or?
They're
it
actually
like
they're normal size for you. Like the trees are big, but they're not. But things aren't giant sized on this planet. So you would
Okay.
realize that these giants would have to eat like in their hand it would be like rice or grains of wheat in how
Yeah.
they'd eat it. So
Unless they've got different stuff that they eat that's bigger.
So Solas takes a few dried fruits and nuts from the bowl to munch on absent-mindedly while he studies the tapestry.
I think these are like sun-dried and not specifically dried in any particular way other than that.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
They'd
This
be too small to
Yeah.
handle.
Before the king comes out, Braxon's gonna tap the wood on the thing that we're on, and sort of see if we can get an idea of whether it's any good.
very sturdily constructed. To a certain extent, like you'd say that it's way thicker than necessary for what it's doing. In part because it's just it's used with the standard construction methods that the giants use for their own structures. So they
It's
use
not grown, is it?
no, it's not
it's
grown.
all-
These are
It's
all
all lumbered.
yeah, it's all lumber.
It's not like elven design.
No.
I suppose for
No,
them
we
it's
use a
quite
bit of
hard.
both, really.
It's quite hard making small things.
Well, not really. I mean,
You can handle nails and bolts IRL, so that's what it's like for them.
well, and like if you're not even as small as like a modern child's dollhouse. You know, a dollhouse is constructed on a much smaller scale than you are to these to these giants. So it's smaller scale than what they're used to, but it's well within the confines of normal furniture construction. Because again, keep in mind you're reaching about knee high on them, not like ankle high.
Ah, right. Okay, so we're not that tiny.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like small children to them, exactly. So you're waiting about 20 minutes when the giant comes back out, the same one that guided you up here, and says, "King Sully will see you now." And you descend the stairs from that platform and follow him in.
Well, they're not taking our weapons, but I guess we're so small they don't consider us a threat.
Well, inside there are,
The weapon rack or something.
in addition to the giant who led you here, there's 4 other giants. So 6 of you, 5 giants. They probably
They're gonna
aren't.
play whack-a-mole with the party.
They probably wouldn't be too scared. Plus, then you'd have to get through the entire village. You know. And the chamber is. You wouldn't consider it a throne room. There's no actual throne. It's a bit more like a conference room. There's a long table, and the giants are standing around it. Obviously, just finishing up a conversation. 2 of the giants are kind of standing in the corners at attention, holding spears. And these spears do have metal tips. But the rest of the construction is not as advanced as spears that you're used to.
It's like second-hand blacksmithing knowledge passed on. It's like they were taught how to blacksmith, but
Let's see. No one has blacksmithing or weaponsmithing, correct?
Only Ockar has armor.
I
smithing.
have
you-
armor smithing.
Armor smithing. All right, give me an armor smithing roll,
Okay.
and I'm going to give you a bonus to that because this is more general smith knowledge rather than armor smithing specifically.
So what? Okay.
So just roll, and I'll be mentally adding some numbers onto it.
You know, like lots of people jumping in and out. Chat.
I don't think you have a bonus. I'm good.
Yeah, so you don't know a whole lot about this, but you would say that it's fairly recent. Like they've learned the knowledge of metalsmithing fairly recently.
Okay.
But they still look quite effective.
Oh yes.
Okay.
So the giants who are not those 2, they're obviously just finishing up a conversation, and 2 of them leave, and the third one, actually no, just one of them would have left. Sorry, miscounted. And one of them turns to speak with you, and he is, you'd guess, in his middle years. The green of his hair has started to go gray in some places.
Wouldn't it be like brown?
I'm sorry?
Wouldn't it be like brown now? Isn't that like the natural wilting color?
No, because it's not plants. It's actual hair. It just
Yeah.
grows in a way that reminds you of grass and ferns. It goes gray, not brown.
Basically starts to lose the color.
Yeah. And he
I
does
love
have
the way
a beard as well.
I love the way you assume that green hair gets brown.
Well, I mean, I
Just
I did describe it as grass or fern-like, so.
I'd imagine it would turn grey eventually, but I thought it would go like a for some reason in my head canon thought it went green to like a brown, then to like a faded like white, yellowy white.
That might be
White.
quite cool.
It basically starts to
It emulates the withering of plants, but then eventually goes white.
Can I roll etiquette to see if I know the best way to handle introducing us?
Sure. Looks like Leva's having internet problems as well, by the way.
Oh, that's a success.
You would, as he's been described as a king, so, you would feel that, without specific knowledge, your best bet is to, bow and, treat him as royalty. I mean, he is a king. He's been called a king, so, yeah, you don't think there's anything specific that you need to go beyond that. He's not dressed all that differently than the others, although he is wearing some sort of greenish hide armor, and definitely made from some large creature of a greenish shade.
I would think also Ockar heard what I talked about with the giant about the best protocol to approaching the king.
Yeah, absolutely. He's
Okay.
not wearing a crown, and he seems to wear a necklace of some sort that has some sort of ritual significance, but, maybe that's the badge of kingship here. That's all you know.
Any dragon scales on him?
No, there's no dragon scales.
Oh.
So,
Braxon's gonna bow.
I'll bow.
you're led into the room. There was a conversation between the two that finishes up, and that giant starts to leave. The giant who brought you here, Thuthi, he directs you to another small platform similar to the one outside that you can go up and stand on and be essentially at chest high compared to the king. And
Braxon's gonna watch the giant that's leaving in case they do anything when they leave.
Okay.
Like walking backwards or anything.
There's definitely a respectful attitude to him, but he doesn't bow. He doesn't do anything in particular. He just, when it's done, he just kind of nods and walks off. There's definitely a respectful attitude to him, but not the kind of bowing and scraping and stuff like that you've heard about.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
none of
pretty good.
you have been in the presence of actual royalty before, I don't
Yeah.
think.
No.
The
I
Prince of
think
Brawl.
Lafdul might have. In
You met the
Ebony.
Prince of Brawl once.
You met the Prince of Barrow once.
Yeah, remember he gave us that reward or something?
We never
He
met.
His
did.
lackeys.
Yeah,
That was
Oh.
one of his lackeys.
other people did.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think you've been in the presence of any other actual royalty, and no, Lafdul, you would not have on Evermeet.
Wasn't that
Fire
evil?
giant, the leader, be considered king?
That would be a noble.
Yeah. Anywho, Braxon's just gonna be polite and bow.
Mhm.
And hope that's enough.
Okay. Anyone else doing anything similar?
Yeah, Solas will bow.
I go
As
with
will
the
Finn.
crowd.
Okay. So, this middle-aged giant, he turns and greets you. He's looking at you now on this platform.
Welcome, my friends. I understand you are hunting pirates here. And you're
Yes,
looking to
we are
hire a
searching-
guide.
Yes. The pirates that we are searching for are apparently allied with a green dragon, from what we realized.
Green or black.
Green or black dragon.
Well,
And
we
are
don't
hiding on
actually
this-
know. We're it's an educated guess.
And are hiding
Yeah.
on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can see why you would want to hire some guides for finding them. Do you have any information on where they might be?
Well, we understand that we were told we figured out that they're on the southern hemisphere, right?
Yeah, and that's where you are right now.
Yeah.
Did
Did you
it
get
really...
any more narrower point? Wasn't it like a mountain range or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
So
tell
we could
them that.
relay what we know based on our device that was tracking, at least to a region.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you relay that information, and he strokes his beard thoughtfully.
Yes, there is a dragon in that region, for sure.
You wouldn't happen to know the color of its scales, would you?
No, I do not know that we've had a direct confrontation with that dragon. I'd have to send some runners out to other villages and find out if they know anything more.
And he waves to one of the what you've kind of assumed is a guard at this point, and that giant leaves for a few minutes. You'd guess he's going to, speak to someone and send out some runners.
Mm.
We
No.
also
Yeah, go ahead.
we also understand that you have had a enmity with dragons. So if you have anything that you could tell about dragons here and their potential weaknesses, it would be very helpful for us.
Yes. Well, I don't know how different it would be for you, but we typically carry throwing spears before engaging, and then rush in and try to fight them at close range from multiple sides, so that they have a difficult time hitting all of us with a tail slap or a wing buffet.
The last time we fought a dragon, we threw an explosive into its mouth.
Ah, yes, I've heard of those. I have only seen them a few times, actually. In fact, I've actually been out in space before. You may have heard of that.
Yeah, he gives you a little bit of his personal history. Apparently, he was kidnapped by slavers. I think Nyogi. I'd have to go back and double check that. But he eventually freed himself and in another sphere, and eventually found his way back. And
What a grand tale!
Indeed. So I am somewhat familiar with the things you off-worlders use. As for fighting a dragon, we could, if you wish your guides to be skilled at dragon fighting, I could choose some among them, but it would be more expensive. I understand that you small folk sometimes have dealings with dragons that we do not. If you'd prefer that, that would be possible, but you would not want us along. The enmity between our peoples and the dragons is very, very long.
We'd honestly prefer to just just get rid of the dragon if it comes down to it. I'd rather not make deals with them.
Braxon says, "Are there any good dragons on this planet, Your Majesty?"
Certainly none that have been good to us.
So we've heard of other worlds that have good and bad dragons.
We're only aware of green and black scaled dragons. Were there any other coloured ones around?
Those are the only ones that I know of.
Mm.
But I understand your desire to eliminate the dragon. I admire it. That is how we tend to handle it when our territory conflicts with the dragons. But, and pardon me for saying so, you are not as sturdy as we are.
Well,
It would
we
be much
plan to-
safer for your kind to make a deal with one if that is preferable.
well, we plan to bring in allies.
Ah, that would be wise, yes.
Well,
At least ourselves, our own crew, and then 2 other crews of like-minded adventurers to deal with these pirates.
They've been plaguing this
Sphere for
sphere
a while.
strictly speaking, we don't need to kill the dragon, but if the dragon is in the way, we might have to.
Yeah. They're working together as like a bodyguard of
Well, I figure
pirates.
killing the dragon would be a net good overall.
So, you kind of continue with your conversation with him for a bit, kind of giving, he'll be asking more questions about what you know about the pirates, what you know about the situation, and is there anything that you wouldn't want to share with him that you know?
I see no reason why we would hide anything.
No,
I
we won't talk to
do.
them.
Solas is okay with sharing things with him,
Yeah.
Yeah, do you... Mhm.
since he's basically also offering us to be able to hire his giants for helping to deal with the dragon.
Braxon's going to describe Red Njord's ship and the ill ship and ask if any of their scouts have seen spelljamming ships that look like that.
So once you describe the ships, he says,
That is actually something that I should have my runners convey.
and he nods to the giant who's recently come back in from finding
Poor giant.
giants, and and this time the giant, rather than walking out, practically runs out. So you kind of do some more information exchange, and Sully has, he has his ideas on the ways that you could deal with this, and he kind of lays out what he feels. He's willing to let you hire 3 giants as guides and warriors, and that will be 100 steel each. Or if you have things like raw metal materials, they would be interested in that as well in exchange instead of steel coins.
We do have
Load of
raw
cargo.
metal.
Yeah, well, I'm just letting you guys can then discuss that.
We have the raw metal on our ship, right?
And the not flitter, the...
Yeah, we have in the cargo hold some raw and worked metal.
100 steel for the whole job.
100
No, for
steel
free.
each for the whole job.
Yeah.
Not per day or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's just flat.
Right. Okay.
That isn't too bad.
During the conversation, Solas will also inquire about other dangers we might encounter during our. Since
about
we
the basilisks?
since we heard about basilisks.
So yeah, before he gets to that, so he's willing to let you hire 3, but he points out that if you encounter dragons alone, they may just, especially being off-worlders, he kind of, he points out that the people around on this planet, and there are other humans and demi-humans here, but they live fairly nomadic lives in similar ways to the giants, but they don't really produce much. There's very little mining. Some dwarves do a bit of mining. They have like copper weapons and stuff like that. But there's no monetary economy. There's no metallurgy beyond what these giants have started to learn since they've had more contact beyond the planet. So the dragons around here do not have hordes of coins and gems. And thus they are more than happy to trade, to acquire that from off-worlders. So he basically is saying you can bribe dragons pretty cheaply and easily here.
No,
That's
right.
that's kind of what you're gathering from what he says. But if there are his giants with you, the enmity between the giants and the dragons is so great that
Yeah,
the dragons are not going to talk to you.
yeah.
So that's going to be kind of the trade-off. You can either take the giants along, in which case you will fight dragons that you encounter, if you encounter them. If you don't take the giants along, then there is the opportunity to barter
Gain.
or exchange, bribe the dragons to leave you alone, or to even help you, maybe. Because he
How
points
far,
out that the dragons are constantly fighting amongst themselves for territory and lairs and hordes. They do have hordes, but the hordes tend to be, the various kind of natural totems and jewelry, like shell jewelry and stuff like that, that the peoples here make, the giants and the demi-humans.
They like the shiny.
how far are the mountain range we are suspecting the base to be from this village?
So he suspects that it's gonna you're gonna need to go up a river for a couple days to another village. There's a couple villages that it could be, and he sent out runners to those villages to try and get more information. And it'll be at least 2 days before they can get back with more concrete information. Maybe a bit more, maybe up to 3 days. But that would be kind of the starting off point, and then it would be depending on how you go and depending on whether you get the guides or go on your own, up to a week travel to get to the mountains.
Okay.
I think we should accept the guides.
Shame we didn't have our biggest ship with us. We could, we could just go up and back down again.
With the guides, I think while we risk fighting the dragons with guides, we should be able to travel faster.
Yeah, we're less likely to be
Local.
spotted landing.
And out of the guides, I think we should take the trained warriors in case we do end up in trouble, because they'd be the best ones at helping us handle it.
Yeah, but it's like we either have the siege method, i.e., we use the giants, or and obviously we won't be able to sneak with giants, or we.
Know that they might be quite good at moving silently in their
Perhaps.
home terrain.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
they
they
might be able to
can't
handle
move
it.
silently with you guys
Well,
along.
not silent,
Yeah.
silent, but
or we.
So you obviously won't need to decide that right this moment, but that's kind of like, the conclusions that you guys would come to and what he's suggesting based on the information that he is providing to you. As to questions about what there is around in the jungle, he will he'll describe some general creature. There's a lot of wildlife. A lot of it is inoffensive. I mean, there are jungle deer. There are tons of small animals. Finn, you would realize that this is, it'd be easy to hunt in this area, and get plenty of food. Of course, there's fishing. In terms of monsters, there's a fair number. He doesn't know the terminology that you would, but you definitely get the impression of some dangerous large reptiles besides dragons. There are other giants, and he tells you that giants other than his kind, which he would tell you have been referred to by others as swamp giants. Um, if you encounter other giants, they are not friendly.
Okay.
Can we get a sort of size estimate on some of his monsters so we can work out if the creatures on this world are bigger
They're not.
to match the size of the giants?
They're
right. Okay.
And again, he does describe other small folk, that there are bands of small folk in the forests as well. There are dwarves, there are humans, there are elves, there are others.
Did he mention about the basilisks?
He did mention that there are reptiles known to be able to turn creatures to stone, yes. They're not terribly common, but they do
That's
exist.
Good. Do they know any way how to reverse that if someone is turned to stone?
Nope.
Pity.
So
Yeah,
the things that you'll face is, to a certain extent, some of the usual suspects for jungle, swamps, and mountains and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Have any of us heard any legends or like myths or story tales, fairy tales of like when someone's afflicted with a condition, whether or not there's usually a remedy involving that creature or some part of it? Would any of us have heard these kind of stories?
I mean, there's always stories like that, but what the veracity of those, you don't know.
In the spell, I would think with spellcraft we would at least know that if there is affliction that is caused by some creature's fantastical ability, usually those creatures their parts can be used as a spell components for it.
Maybe. I mean, like.
Yeah, Braxon
So
doesn't believe those sort of stories.
again, like you would be inclined to say that there's oftentimes a kernel of truth in a lot of those stories. But exactly how big that kernel is, who knows? And again, like Spellcraft would tell you that, oh yes, this particular spell that is stone to flesh, that requires a basilisk eye. If that were the case, then yeah, Spellcraft would tell you that. But if stone to flesh doesn't require a basilisk eye, then Spellcraft doesn't then tell you, oh yeah, there are other ways to solve this. That this, I mean,
Yeah.
there's infinite possibilities out there is part of it. So you've told him that you're waiting for some other people. He will offer you accommodations here if you want, but he's also gotten the impression that you might be waiting for them in orbit. So he's giving you some other options.
Is there any village mystic or wise woman or elder, lawkeeper, someone who treats the injuries of your fellow giants?
Yes, you would want to speak to Garcia of the Wilds. He is our shaman.
Okay.
Something left, and we'll probably inquire at some point.
Yeah, it would be a good idea to inquire local remedies for things like local poisons that the local wildlife might have.
Sounds like a plan.
But Solas would be interested in staying at least for one night in the village to try and learn things about from these giants.
Braxon says to the king, we were thinking before your majesty that we might like to scout out the area to see what we and our allies will be up against. Would any of your guides be able to tell us if there's a way we can approach the area without easily being seen?
So the part of the problem is that he doesn't know exactly where you need to go right now. Like there's a couple possibilities in his mind, and that's why he sent out runners to see if any of them have heard or seen anything in their these runners have gone to other villages.
Right.
He's not a king of. He's actually the king of all of the swamp giants on the planet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But some of them are so far flung that you know he only gets messengers from them like once a year.
Yeah.
And like the whole planet isn't a kingdom per se. It's just all disparate villages kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So he
Basically,
sent out runners to some of the nearby villages that are in the direction of the mountains to see if they have any information that they could provide. And it's going to take a couple days for them to get back here anyway.
Right.
Basically, it would be very loose kingdom joined together for protection and support.
Well, part of it is because he's been off-world, and he came back with the wisdom that and knowledge that entailed of things beyond this world and different ways of doing things. And while the swamp giants aren't exactly, uh, for the most part, they generally try to keep to themselves. They
He's been
saw
trying to create-
the wisdom in what he's learned as things that they could adapt and expand their horizons and abilities and stuff like that. So
He's trying to create a kingdom out of people that are not normally bound together by something like that.
he's not actually. He was basically made king. You'd learn.
He was basically just teaching that there are other ways we could do things, and by pulling together our resources, we might be able to do something better.
And then they toss him into the role of king.
Yeah.
Well, he was the one with the ideas, so it would be natural for him to be chosen as the king.
It's the way unifying people under the leadership.
Mm.
Mutual gain, mutual cooperation benefits.
But yeah, I guess we'll wait to hear back from the runners then. How long should that take?
2
couple
to
of
3
days.
days.
We're waiting on allies for 2 to 3 days. We could go back to the ship in orbit and then come back to see what the runners have to say.
Yeah, we could also spend a bit of time down here learning what we can about the world, and then still have time to go back to our ship and come back down.
Yeah, like I said earlier, Solas would be wanting to stay at least for a day in here, since we have to wait in any case, so that he may learn about these giants and their culture, and also study that lift and learn from the shaman about the local cures and
And
dangers.
Finn would like to go looking for some herbs.
Yeah. I think more herbs is always good.
Hmm.
I think Braxon would like to ask their carpenters if there's any special woods.
Braxon and his
I don't think you're ever gonna get a yes.
everlasting quest for ultimate wood.
You're an engineer, Solas. You could offer your services.
Well, I need to. I,
Oh,
of
I know
course,
what
offer
I know
them
what I
some
can do.
help if there is, but
King.
interested in learning.
hold on. Let people finish what they're saying.
Sorry.
Yeah, Solas will offer his help if there is something that he sees that could be improved with engineering, but at the moment he's interested in learning. And well, there's few days that we must wait. So during that time, if he, for instance, sees that there is uh, some place where some like pump machine or something would be useful, he might design something like that.
Okay.
Or if they specifically need something like some machinery.
All right.
I
Ockar,
don't
you were
have
saying?
much,
And I'll tell him I'm an armor smith. I could try. Well, I'm not a master or anything, but I can try and help and give some instruction.
Okay, so are you guys looking at spending the night here?
Yeah.
Okay. So the king, he has the what you've kind of realized is the equivalent of a dock master here. He's the guy who oversees the docks and takes the fees and everything like that. But it's also not exactly a strenuous job because they don't get visitors frequently. They get them fairly regularly, you'd discover, but not frequently. So it's like maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, kind of thing. Is generally how often people visit here. And Thuthi Fisher Clan guides you to a small building at the base of one of the trees close to the docks, so you can, like, you've got from the windows a clear sight of your ship and any other ships that would be in the port, at the village port.
Okay.
And it's a comfortable little kind of cottage. There's enough rooms in there for each of you to either sleep alone or with only one other person, kind of thing.
Okay.
And the furniture is well made but fairly simple. The beds are reasonably comfortable. They're not, luxury beds by any stretch, but they've got like dried grass mattresses wrapped up in cloth, and they're surprisingly comfortable for what they are. So you can essentially make yourselves at home. He indicates for the night.
Braxon thanks him.
And you still have hours before darkness falls, so
Yeah.
you have plenty of time.
Braxon turns to Finn and said, "You said you wanted to find some herbs.
Yeah,
Yes.
Do you want a hand?"
Sure, if you're willing to come with.
So Solas suggests at that point to Finn and Lafdul and so Levi that we could go and visit the shaman, and he would have quite a bit knowledge about the local herbs.
or Buffon.
Yeah, that might be a good
Flora, I mean.
idea.
True.
We
He
could
might
also
be
see
able-
if there's anything they want.
Mhm.
I think. So this place is like Smiths and stuff, right?
You haven't seen one yet. You'd have to go exploring the village a little bit more.
You
I'm
could,
getting-
Smoke.
you could ask uh, about the smiths from our guide, who
Yeah.
our master.
I do that. I'm basically just going to offer like to help, like give any whatever smithing tips I know to whoever the smith is around here, since they're trying to learn how to do it and everything.
Okay. So let's handle that first because that's just going to be you, I think. So you leave the little guest cabin and find Thuthi. He actually, when he's not doing anything with the craft, he actually tends to be at the end of the dock fishing. So you find him down there and ask him about smithing and if you could help out. And Thuthi says,
Well, I can certainly take you to our smith. He might be interested in what you have to share knowledge-wise. I'm not sure how well your knowledge of metal armor would help. We don't have that much metal, but certainly he'd be more than interested in talking to you.
Okay.
So
Sounds like a plan.
you are led further into the village, and the village is interesting the further you get in because, like, the only real difference between the village and not the village is whether there's these structures up in the tree. There's no, like, wall or palisade around, and of course, since everything is up in trees, and around trees, that they're and the trees themselves aren't heavily modified except to, hold these structures and stuff like that. It's just kind of like if you kind of would realize that if you were to leave the village, quote unquote, you may not immediately realize that you've left. It would just be like, oh yeah, there's no buildings up in the trees, kind of thing. But the village smith does have a workshop down on the floor of the on the ground level, and he takes you there to meet. And hold on a second, let's see. Okay, looks like Leva's having more internet troubles. Something at the provider level. So she may not be rejoining us.
Ouch.
Yeah. Let me just let her know.
Just a quick note, there's also seems to be thunderstorm coming my way, so that might affect my connection and ability at some point if it gets really worse.
Okay. All right. So, Ockar, you meet this giant. He's using a hammer that is at once much bigger than hammers that you're used to, obviously, but on the other hand, also appears smaller than you would expect for his size. You're not sure exactly. Whether this was made specifically for him or purchased from other giants or something like that. Who knows? But Thuthi introduces you, and this giant is named Arlie, Arlie Craft Clan. And he puts down his tools. It looks like he's making some like pots and pans out of iron and steel. And he stops his work and turns to you and says, he's kind of like leaning down close to you and says,
"Ah, you're a smith yourself. It's always nice to meet another craftsman."
Yes, I'm from a family of craftsmen.
Yes, as am I. Although my forefathers didn't use these tools.
Yes. I'm not exactly a master myself, but my father is a rather skilled smith, and I learned what I learned from him.
Indeed,
I'm more of a warrior.
indeed.
I'm more of a warrior than a craftsman, but I do know some tricks.
Yes, I'd be happy to exchange knowledge with you. I'm always interested in learning more tricks of the trade, so to speak.
I can see what I can do. I'm more of an armor smith than a weaponsmith, but that could still help. I imagine make you could use a knowledge of making shields or armor to help your cause.
Indeed, indeed.
So he starts like asking you questions, and you're asking him questions, and it's a fruitful conversation. You'd realize that they probably don't get enough metal to make um, very much armor at all, and they prefer to use the metal for um, utensils and weapons, preferably. But he does start asking you about, like piecemeal armor. You basically are having conversation. You've realized how they're handling their relatively limited metal supplies, and so you're suggesting small pieces of armor that they could make that would help, like just gorgets if necks are in at risk, or bracers, things like that that would help them, that wouldn't use a whole lot of metal. And he's very appreciative of your advice and the discussion.
Also, bring up making metal studs to put into leather armor.
Yep. Yep.
It'd take up a lot less metal, and it had the protection of the metal of the studs along with the protection of the leather.
So he pulls out some sheets of hide that looks very similar to what the king was wearing, and you also saw this on the warriors who were in his throne room, or his conference room, and he hands some of it to you so you can feel it and get a feel for it. This is thick hide. It's greenish, and give me an intelligence check.
Okay. I think I have a thought of what it might be, but okay. Yeah, that's below 11.
All right, what do you think it is?
I think it's Dragonhide.
It is.
Ah, Dragonhide. That's extremely valuable.
Yes, it is great armor. It works very well at protecting ourselves both from the dragons and from the blows of the other giants who are not so amenable to village life as we are.
Yes.
So this hide would be a lot more difficult to turn into kind of a studded leather, but you do have some ideas, and you do share them with him.
Yeah. Hard to work with, but you could make it work with metal studs. It would just take a while. Here are some ideas.
All right, so you have a fruitful conversation. Is there any specific information that you want to ask him about, either for your personal knowledge or for to help the adventure?
I am curious about how they work with materials from dragons.
He unfortunately is a smith, so he doesn't do the hide work. But he does.
What about with dragon scales?
They don't do a whole lot with the scales themselves. But he does, like, they tend to get made into pieces of jewelry or utensils. He chuckles as he pulls out a spoon made of a dragon scale attached to a very sturdy wooden handle. And he says that it would be, they're not the best spoons, but they are signs of not quite affluence, but like warriors who have slain a dragon will oftentimes get some spoons made to kind of show that they've slain a dragon. It's a little something that they can do, because the hide gets kind of co-opted by the village as a whole to go to whoever needs it most. But the scales, that's the kind of trophy that they can make for themselves.
I mentioned how I've heard some tales of people making armor out of the scales of a dragon.
That is interesting. I may have
Fashioning it
to
with iron and leather.
try that sometime. It is unfortunately not often that we get the scales intact. I mean, the enough of the scales from slaying a dragon. They can oftentimes get pretty beat up in the fight, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Also, do you work with wooden shields?
They don't use a whole lot of shields. They do sometimes. Mostly it's kind of a wooden framework with hide stretched over it, and he'll show you one of those.
A thought is that you can make a rim of metal around the wood to make it stronger. Reinforce it.
That is interesting.
He starts asking you some questions about how you'd go about that. And so there's a lot of exchange of information there. He's very interested in hearing that, and definitely is. You can see he's intrigued and thinking about maybe trying to make a shield like that. And he makes kind of an offhand comment.
I think Sully might like this. This would be a nice gift for him. Thank you.
It is no problem. We are, we both have no love for dragons, so helping you be able to make stronger armors to help fend off against them is always a wise thing to do.
So he's very appreciative of that.
And I guess I'll head off once we're done with our conversation and think it first time.
All right. It's probably evening by that point. You do not have a hard time finding your way back. For as much as this village is, within the forest, they clearly keep the undergrowth down at the bottom clear in paths and stuff like that. So it's really easy to get back to the shore and back to the guest cabin. Meanwhile, Finn, Lafdul, Solas, and Braxon, you were off. You wanted to visit the shaman.
Yeah, and then go look for some herbs.
Okay.
If we're allowed to.
All right. So Thuthi has taken Ockar off, but you're able to leave and find a giant who speaks common and can direct you to the shaman. The shaman lives in another structure in the trees. This one is kind of open on the sides. Like, it doesn't have solid walls, but there are hides, not dragon hides, but other hides, hide coverings that he can put down. But he clearly likes the wind blowing through his home and, kind of feeling at one with nature, you'd guess. Now, this time, there is no lift up to the top. You actually have to ask a giant to help get you up there, which they're happy enough to do. He'll hold two of you in his hand as he takes you up to the top, and then goes down, gets two more, kind of thing.
Would we have had to have waited a while for that to happen, or?
No, the giants, those that are about the village, for the most part, they seem to have a reasonably carefree existence. They don't. They seem to be able to get enough, like food and materials and things made in a relatively short amount of time. So they have a fair bit of leisure time. They spend a lot of time chatting with their fellow giants and stuff like that. It seems like
a bit hard.
They
sorry?
seem quite helpful.
Yeah, they're very friendly. It turns out that not a whole lot of them know Common, though. So it did take a little bit to find someone who knew Common. But they get you up to the...
Oh, we would have asked, does this shaman speak common?
He does. He does. But you get up to the shaman's home, and he seems to have been in a meditation trance. What would you do when you realize that?
We'll spoke off to see how long it would take for him to leave that trance.
Yeah, especially if the giant who helped us in there knows about anything that knows about the trance, and if it doesn't last too long.
The giant kind of whispers in a... Like, for you it's loud, but he's just, like, put the second group of you up, and he says... he looks at the shaman and says,
Oh, he'll probably be done in...
He uses a term that you would kind of translate into 15 minutes.
Well, then Solas suggests that we wait silently.
Do they have one of those?
Thing to do.
Do they have a sort of waiting area like the other place?
Just sit on the...
He does not, no.
Right, okay. Is there like a sort of outside bit?
Yeah, there is a kind of a balcony around the edge.
Yeah, okay. Braxon to go somewhere there where we can sort of see the doorway.
Okay.
Well,
again, like it's open on the sides. The leather is rolled up, so there's a good strong wind blowing through. You can see that the shaman's hair is blowing in the wind. You can basically see him from almost any spot around.
Okay. Solas will sit down basically in contemplation, silent contemplation himself.
Yeah, Braxton's gonna sit down and think about Patar while he's waiting.
All right. So indeed, it's about a little bit longer, about 20 minutes, and the shaman opens his eyes and says,
Ah, visitors, welcome.
His beard and his hair are over half gray. He's definitely, getting up there in the years. But he does not move from his seated position. But he does say,
Come over to me. Do not get outsiders interested in speaking to me very often.
So at that point, Solas greets the shaman and raises from his seating and basically, greetings, O learned one. We are also people who have been taught about the powers of herbs and the medicinal potency that they have. So we thought it would be wise to learn from someone local about the local herbs.
Indeed, indeed. Kislev provides all. I can share what I know with you. Is there anything in particular that you're looking for? Do you need it for any particular remedy, any particular illness or disease?
Anything for a cold? Lafdul's still occasionally sneezing.
Yes, I think I have something here. Hold on.
And he,
I want to do a heroism and healing check, so I want to know if this is genuine and see if I can replicate it.
he reaches into a pouch and he seems to rummage around a little bit and then pulls out some leaves that you've never seen before. They're definitely leaves. And he takes a cup from nearby, crumbles them up into the the cup.
Can I make inquiries about it as he's doing it, where they grow, etc., etc.?
You can, and he does tell you. It turns out that these herbs are found in the canyon known as Kislev's Hand. They're
Yeah,
not
we've
known to
heard of
grow
that place.
anywhere else other than that.
Is that a particularly dangerous place, or is it a spiritual place? Is it a what?
We already heard about that place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mailing did mention it,
Yeah.
but of
should
course
have
he may have a different view on it.
perspective.
He says,
Indeed, it is quite spiritual. It is believed that you can get closer to Kislev himself there, and it is where he touched the world itself.
so the Kislev's Hand is a canyon structure with 5 canyons, kind of roughly in a hand shape. Very deep, and there are plants growing there along the walls that are not known to grow anywhere else on the planet. And it is a popular visitation spot for off-worlders. It is somewhat more dangerous than most of the other places because knowing that off-worlders go there, other races come there to, like dragons and stuff like that, and some of the giants, as well as, of course, any intelligent race on this planet is going to go there to get some of these herbs.
Braxon says, does he know if there's any caves in the canyons where someone could hide?
Oh, yes, there are caves. There's many, many caves.
So he's finished grinding up, like crushing the leaves into what is going to be a big cup for you, and then he pours in some hot water. He has
Some kind of steeped herbal remedy.
Yeah. And then he hands it to you, or puts it in front of you, and says,
It may be a bit much for you to drink, but you should drink as much of this as you can, and it should clear up that sniffle you have there.
I am much appreciative of this.
So
Do you? I give him I'm not sure how much this is worth to you, but I give him a steal. I don't know if you treasure currency
No,
in this place.
I do this to make you feel better, my little friend.
Oh well, thank you.
So Solas says at that point, that is very generous and kind of you to be so helpful with our friend here, and these herbs must really be quite useful and rare, since if you have to go to Chislev's Hand for them.
Oh, I don't have to go there myself.
Yeah.
There are other shamans there who collect them and trade them over to us.
But to answer your earlier question about what we are seeking, we are planning expedition to the. I basically mentioned the mountain range, and we would like to know about the cures, potential cures for anything that we might encounter on
Any
the way.
disease,
Any
poison,
disease,
venomous.
yeah.
Any
What
repellents from Aussies or the equivalent.
So he describes some like symptoms that you might experience, like saying if you're feeling this way, it probably means you got bitten by such and such insect, and you should do this to fight it.
Oh,
So he goes over a couple of those types of things. There's a couple of them that he says you'd best hope that you have some magical cures handy because herbs don't work fast enough.
Oh, we have
yeah.
that covered. We are also spellcasters.
Practitioners of magic. Cherie, it's a curious thing. Do you know of this Shao lady that lives on the other side of, well, this Chislev?
Kislev.
Yeah, I'd make an inquiry. Just see if he recognizes her or mailing. Who
Yes, we know of her. I have not had any personal contact. We tend to stay away from her camp.
Oh. Well, she describes this terrible affliction that was killing off our livestock. She's been trying to grow here. And I tried to describe the symptoms that she explained, see if it's actually a thing.
Well, we do not keep animals that way, so I do not have a great deal of knowledge about the sicknesses of the animals, except insofar as we come across ones that we hunt. I do not know about these symptoms that you describe, however.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on it. Something doesn't feel right about that one.
Braxon says, wanting to get back on the canyon. Is the canyon within a short walk, or is it an
Oh,
expedition?
no, it is many, many, many days far to the north.
Braxon,
Oh,
Solas,
week?
Solas mentions to Braxon that the canyon is on the northern hemisphere.
yeah.
Isn't that?
Braxon,
Oh,
Braxon
No,
gestures towards
that would probably be a couple months trip.
well. Oh, yeah.
Braxon gestures towards Finn and says, "My friend here was hoping to look for some herbs in the local area. Is there anywhere good round here? And is there anything you need?"
Oh,
we could
there's
bring-
nothing that I need, but he looks to you, Finn. If you are interested in local herbs, there are many fine ones, and all you really need to do is leave the village. They grow all over the place. He kind of mentions a few. Some of them are definitely ones that you were hoping to find.
Hey,
Finn, was were you planning to get some of those herbs for those specific remedies from the Druid's Handbook?
Yes.
Okay. So some of the ones that he mentions are definitely on that list of ones that you want to find. So you'd be able to ask him for specific locations for a couple of those, and I will allow you to gather twice as much in the listed time because of this.
Okay.
So depending
I
on how much
also,
time you want to spend, and depending on how much time it's listed, you'll be able to gather twice as much.
I also ask, since we are planning on the expedition, since he's a shaman, he has quite a lot of knowledge about plants. That in any specific plants, if we are going to forage our food, we should avoid.
poisonous plants.
Yeah, he does mention a few of those. It sounds
Also,
like the herbs in the area are fairly common across worlds locally. It sounds like the really rare herbs tend to be in the special locations like Kislev's Canyon and maybe some other places.
does he know anything that might help against uh, anything that can be used to treat green dragon, treat treat from the poisoning of green dragon's breath?
So again,
Fungus.
to be clear about the green dragon breath, it's not. It may be called poison and stuff like that, but it's caustic.
Yeah, I know, but
There's
basically
It's the only way we can describe
any
it. The
any
caustic effect
any
of
yeah,
gas.
no.
specific.
There's really nothing you can do except not get it. Not A, breathe it in. B, get it on you.
Yeah,
That's
well,
that's that's the key.
I'm not speaking about neutralizing it. I'm speaking about if someone gets basically in a role playing wise, if someone gets breathe on upon on, is there any herbs he would suggest to basically ease their affliction?
Yeah, he
Maybe
mentions a few,
fortitude.
but they're the just the general pain relieving and pain relieving herbs and herbs that you'd put into poultices and stuff like that.
I mentioned to Solas, weren't you after a chrono lily? Maybe he's heard of such a thing here.
Is there any chrono lilies in here?
I
plant.
do not think I've ever heard of that.
Yes, it's unfortunately quite rare plant, it seems.
Well, I can't speak to its rarity, but I do not think that it grows around here, as I have not heard of it, unless it is by a different name. Do you know what it looks like?
Does Solas have any knowledge of
Just
the
laughed.
I don't
'Cause
think
this
you
has been
do.
a
No.
scroll research. We would have heard of the term, but
Yeah, I don't think you know. You've gotten a description of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, no.
I mean, how would we have come to the conclusion that we need it in scroll research?
So
never...
right. So scroll research. The way that you're getting this information is that like you're not finding recipes in these books where someone specifically says, "I was able to make scroll ink with this, 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 and this." You're finding legends and stories and things like so and so said that this was useful in this application. And you're like, oh, that would probably work in the scroll ink, and or a legend about how someone was looking for, like, you may have heard of someone looking specifically for a resource for this scroll ink, but you're kind of putting a whole bunch of threads together to get your recipe.
About that chrono lily nectar, it was not for scroll ink. It was what the Leva got as the recipe.
It doesn't matter. It's the same method.
Yeah.
You're plucking threads out to form a recipe yourself, as opposed to finding an actual recipe, generally.
Another inquiry. Are there any winged serpents or medusae around? I don't know. I'm just asking if he's even heard of what they are.
He's never heard of Medusa, but when you mention winged serpents, he says,
What sort? There are, of course, dragons, and they are serpentine. There are other flying reptiles.
The serpents we are looking are basically like snakes with feathery wings, since we need the quills of those feathers.
Ah, yes, there are some around. They are fairly rare, however.
Yeah.
Those quills would be quite useful for us.
Are they venomous? Would you have happened to have any knowledge of that?
Oh, indeed they are. They are fairly dangerous, not so much for us, but they can be quite dangerous to small folk like you. I have seen, many years ago, a small folk like you, I think he was a dwarf, died of their venom.
Are they particular to any region, or are they just wherever?
No, they're not really found in the temperate zones, but they're found pretty much anywhere else. I think they are more likely to be found in the jungles and the swamps or the mountains, however.
Thank you.
If you wish, I can send some people out to see if any of the other villages nearby have encountered any recently.
Well, that would be quite useful.
That would be.
We can use those feathers to create scrolls that neutralize poison.
Yes, I will send some people out to ask about that.
We will be here. Well, there's some other runners going to some other villages, so we're going to be here for
And this will probably take longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the culmination of our adventure will likely be here for that length of time. Once we've defeated the pirates, so to speak, we'll still be here for a few days, maybe.
Yep.
You don't know. I mean, we might get eaten by a dragon quite quickly.
Exactly.
I mean, we don't have that big of a hurry out of this sphere, and Leva has indicated that she pretty much demands that she can visit Green.
Oh yeah, well, it's quite important for her.
So
to go to Green.
I don't think we have that big of a hurry out of this sphere, since there's quite a lot of places we can potentially gain valuable ingredients.
That's true. I mean, we've come all this way here. We might want to do some other
Are
stuff.
you... I asked
is the
One at a time?
shaman?
Lafdul started first, I think.
Okay.
No, it's fine. Namga, he's start.
Alright.
He knows.
Is the shaman familiar with how do you pronounce that? I put it on the Roll20 chat.
Quaddle?
Yeah, Quaddle.
He is not, no.
Okay. Does the shaman know if the fishers catch any monkfish on the lake?
No, he's never heard of those.
Okay.
I think that's a deep sea fish.
Well, I don't have any idea about fish.
I want to know if he was a practitioner of magic. I mean, he's a shaman.
He's a
but
shaman.
I don't know if... Is the shamanistic... Is it an actual magic thing in D&D?
Yeah.
I mean, like...
Yeah,
is there a
shamans are a
distinction
class.
between-
Shamans are
Yeah,
priests.
yeah. Right.
Basically, quite a lot of demi-human priests are shamans.
Yeah, it's just...
I didn't realize shamans were like an actual class.
Yeah. Well, I think they are, but...
There is a class. There's multiple classes, I should say. There's also multiple kits, and then there's some non-class, non-kit details for individual races. But yes, they're priests, and they're a different sort of priest. But like, what is your question?
I forgot now. I had it on mind. It just derailed me at the whole... I was going to ask something about a spell, but I forgot now.
All right, Finn, you're definitely getting the impression from him that he's very naturalistic. There's a bit of a kinship that you feel towards him. Do you have any questions for him?
Nothing specific.
Okay.
I want to inquire about if he knew of any magic that allows one to change their form. I'm just making a general inquiry to see if he knows of this kind of magic.
He mentions to you that especially powerful, more powerful than him, followers of Kislev are known to be able to change their forms, but he is not that powerful. And I see that Leva is back.
Yes,
Welcome back.
Yay!
thank you.
So some things have happened. If someone could PM Leva and just kind of catch her up, fill her in. I'd like someone to specifically say that they're doing that, so that she's not just like flooded with messages from all of you. Is there one of you willing to do that?
I can do that.
Okay, thank you. Just catch her up on what she's missed so far. So, just as an aside, Finn, when he mentions that priests more powerful than he can change their form, you'd kind of realize that his shamanism is very similar to your druidism.
Yeah.
As in, he is an actual druid. But
It's
for the
called shaman.
as a class, from a gameplay details perspective, he's an actual druid.
Yeah. I'll probably chat with him a little bit then. Compare notes, so to speak.
Okay.
How you view the world, where you come from.
So one thing that I was thinking of tweaking slightly is because you guys did detect powers before you came in here, and that's how you found out that Lafdul needed to use contact home power, and Finn and Solas did not. And I think what I'm going to do is that each individual priest needs to cast that, and I'm fine just retconning saying that you do that when you come to a sphere to learn this, because you learn who you get your magic from. And Finn, you do get your magic from Kislev.
Uh-huh.
Oh, interesting.
So within the sphere, you are gaining magic from the same deity that this giant worships.
Interesting.
Finn would be very interested in this, I assume.
Well, I mean, he's not about to change his faith, I don't think, but
No.
I think that you'd... Well, I don't know, I still need to think about it a little bit more. You might it may need to be a deductive thing, but either you would have learned it from the spell, or you would have deduced by this point that you're getting your magic from Kislev. So, if that matters in any way to you. You'd chat with him. This giant is very... he's very naturalistic. He is very interested in studying the plant life in particular. So he knows a lot about herbs, and he's already been able to share quite a bit with you. But I'll also say that you get some new new knowledge and stuff like that that you didn't know before. Some new uses for herbs.
Okay. So if I told him specifically what herbal brew I'm looking to make?
He's not too familiar with that aspect of it, but if you mention the herbs that you want to make and the preparation, he's familiar enough with the concepts that he can help you, which he already has. You're going to be able to get double the amount in the gathering time. But yeah, he's not a practitioner of that part.
Okay.
Like an offshoot or something.
That's kind of like being an herbal specialist, and he's not an herbal specialist, but he tries to get a wide range of knowledge. All right.
Okay.
Did you guys want to actually do some gathering?
I do, yeah.
All right. How long? What is the gathering time for that?
It's 6.
So 6 hours.
Do you
Yep.
want help? Because I got time to kill.
Braxon's already offered to help, so
Solas is going to be restocking his whatever magic ingredient he can find and herbs he can find. Basically, just those common magic ingredients that you can find just by searching the wilderness, if there is
Well,
any.
so it's specifically jungle around here, so like you wouldn't be able to find acorns if that was something you needed.
Yeah.
If there's anything that you like, anything with
Bark.
regards to dirt, bark that's not specific, yeah, obviously you can get that. But you may need to go check through some of your spells to see if there's anything in particular that you can get here.
Yeah, I don't have any specific need exactly for those spell components. It's just
Looks like Shaman,
basically a role-playing reason that he's searching to feel anything that he might have missing that can be found in here.
I'm able to get incense here, actually.
Well, what I will say is that if you're are you down anything on your healer's bag?
I think yes, few charges.
Okay,
I'm gonna
I'll let
pull
you
that up.
restock that. Same thing with Lafdul.
Yeah.
Well, I'm overfull at the moment.
Okay.
Solus is the one that usually jumps in ahead of me does the healing.
Okay. Braxon, it's not so much that you would be helping Finn as guarding him or maybe carrying stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I realise that.
But you can still, quote-unquote help.
Yep.
Be there for emotional support. It will take you past dark to do one thing a gathering, which will get
Maybe
you
Braxon
2
will
doses
find
of
some-
that.
Maybe Braxon will find some good branches.
I mean, you can also study the wood while you're out there.
Yeah. Well, like, he
Yeah.
might find a branch that's good for a bow or something.
Maybe.
Elm or some. Well,
Those
maybe
are
not.
rarely made from branches, but these are large trees, so.
Okay.
All right. So, finishing up your conversation, you the shaman does call to another giant to help you down. And as that's happening, he says to you as you're leaving, well, if I meet more of your kind, I may be inclined to get one of those contraptions that Sully has. It would be useful and helpful to allow you up and down. I thank you for your visit.
You
About
could
that,
install one.
I might be able to help you in that regard. I have some knowledge in creating contraptions like that, or at least
Well-
designing them.
Well, I will need to speak with Sully first, but I thank your offer.
Or-
Thank you for your offer.
You wrote
I
some
mean,
blueprints
it's
and
the
have them.
least we can do for the information you've done and for the remedy that you gave to my friend Lafdul here.
All right. So you get down on to the ground. Lafdul, Solas, you're going with Finn to collect other herbs and stuff. Lafdul, are you going as well?
Yeah, I want to help out. And
Okay.
plus learn lay of the land.
All right. Leva, since you missed what was going on, would you have retconned have come along to speak with the shaman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you also want to go gathering herbs?
She doesn't need any in particular, but she'd certainly help the others. Yes, she has
Might get some
herbalism, so
cooking
she can.
herbs.
Huh?
You might get cooking herbs. Spices and rare exotic flavors.
Yeah, we could do that.
Um,
Some cooking
Cool.
herbs.
Yeah, you could definitely get spices and stuff like that. Okay, so Ockar would still be speaking to the smith at this point, I think.
Yeah.
So I will roll up see if there's any random encounters while you're out collecting. You would be like not right at the village's edge, so you'd need to go a bit beyond that to gather. So there will be a chance for random encounters. But let's go ahead and take our break, and when we come back, we'll either have encounters or not have encounters, and see if what you guys want to do on the following day. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes, everyone, and good time to go get a drink or something like that. See you shortly, everyone.